Hello. What's up? Welcome back. I am the Skull Master. I live inside your skin. Who's ready to hear a story? We are on part 3 of what, at the rate we're going, looks to be 8 parts, maybe 7, of Amara's Rose by Brianna Gu. Right up there. If you're just joining us, allow me to catch you up a little bit. What's the fast summary? Rose, our main character, is an alien, I guess, bestowed with the ability of intergalactic and interplanetary travel. She lives on a tiny planet by herself. Her parents are dead, and the community she lives with is at war with a woman who is conscripted an army of giants to assault them. During this conflict, it came to a head where they were dueling and vanished away. So now where we're at in the story is Rose has been transported to Earth, also 30 days in the future. It's kind of a timeline thing, difficult to explain. But she is 30 days ahead of where she was when she vanished, and is now on Earth and has run into the interdimensional gatekeeper traveler of Earth, Benjamin, who is homeless, and she's now just sort of lightly trying to get to Oregon to find, I assume, a woman named something like Victoria Cooley, who seems to know a bit more about dimensional travel, so she can try to get back home. On the other side of it, 30 days in the past, on Amara, her friends, Sylvia and Phoenix, are trying to figure out what happened and how to get Rose back to Amara, along with the help of the king, who is Sylvia's dad. And that is where we last left it. Ready to see what happens for chapter 13? This one is from Rose's perspective. We're going to be doing a lot of perspective jumping. This one actually seems like it's connected to the last. Yeah, Ben says, one of your wishes at least is my command. You can be in charge of the plans from now on. And then we jump into chapter 13, more or less. I ignore the cheap princess taunt because I'd rather focus on the dimly lit street we're on. Anytime I'm away from Amara, I've developed this habit. I take in all my surroundings so I know exactly where to go if trouble arises, which happens quite a lot. So far, I've spotted a ladder up ahead, leaning against the wall of a large store selling food. The buildings are so close together that if I can just get to a roof, I can cross the city quickly. What if we took a car? I ask, looking at the automobiles parked on the street. That's illegal. So that's a no? He gives me a pointed look. Okay then, I don't really keep track of laws on other worlds. I mean, when you have planets like Foot Dawn where you can't walk on your feet, which is weird when the first half of your planet's name sounds like foot, it all gets a bit tedious to keep track of. Well, on Earth, I'm keeping track, and you're not stealing a car. Sassy. We walk without saying a word for the longest time. The diner's been out of sight for a good 10 minutes now. Silence makes me uneasy. It's boring, slightly unnerving, and awkward. Needless to say, I think silence should be illegal, although I'm not sure how to enforce that rule. Good grief, when are we going to get to where we're going? Exactly how far away does your friend live? About 20 minutes from here, on foot. I heave a big, dramatic sigh that does me no good. Bored again, I scope out escape routes. A bicycle that's been left out unlocked outside a gas station. A bus that comes by every 20 minutes. A fire escape on an apartment building. And on the opposite side of the street, a skinny alley that leads who knows where. Whoa. There are some scary people leaning against the entrance to that alley. Scary people with threatening looks on their faces, and who are now walking across the street toward us, like they're going to assault us. Are we in the Hobbit house? I'm not sure which house this is. We're in the storybook house. You might want to walk faster, I whisper to Ben. 4 o'clock. I catch him looking over his shoulder. They won't bother us, he says confidently. How can you possibly know that? I'm not sure he's in his right mind. He must have a few, or maybe a dozen, screws loose. That lead guy, Joey, that's the guy I told you about. My connection. I'm not sure what he's doing in this part of town, but he'll probably follow us all the way to his house just to try to scare you. It's working. Well, it's not working, I say with my arms stiffly shoved in my pockets. Who cares if I'm lying just a bit? It is too, he says, glancing at me out of the corner of his eye. Is not, I deny. Whatever. He gives up and shrugs. Keeping an eye on the motley crew behind us, I continue to look for escape routes. I'll be ready just in case Derek is wrong about what his connection is up to. No one creepily follows people down the street at night just for kicks and giggles. Exactly where will we be staying? I ask to break the silence. We'll be staying above a car workshop. I look at him blankly. A what? A car repair shop is the place where the vroom vrooms go to get fixed, he says facetiously. The nerve! Why, out of all the people on this planet, am I stuck working with him? Couldn't I have gotten someone nice and not sarcastic? I'm not 5, I retort. I know what a car is. You could have just said a place where cars are fixed. Just making sure. You don't seem to know a lot about Earth. Do you even have cars, or cell phones, or TVs? Anything that runs on electricity by any chance? You don't even have a watch on, although that doesn't surprise me. I sniff and explain proudly. Amara doesn't have electricity, and so we cannot run electronics for that reason. Besides, we don't want to destroy our world with global warming like you did with yours. We do have some things from the human world, like jeans and t-shirts. I introduced those on Amara because we needed a fashion upgrade, I rattle on. We also have laser pointers. Oh wow, that's really advanced. I continue as if he hadn't interrupted me. We got those because the old gatekeeper thought they'd be useful for flashing signals to people far away, like during a battle. Which reminds me of the warning Gold Squad flashed me when Hanaway and I met the Giants. My worries resurface, and I can't help but think about my people, my planet. Is everyone okay? Did we win the war? Is it still going on a month later? So you got sucked here, a month into the future, during a war on your planet, he says, looking sympathetic. Pretty much. I was about to defeat my worst enemy, too. Double bummer, he says, but his sympathetic look suddenly disappears. But you can't possibly hate a person so much that you want to kill them. He looks irritated. Why would you do that? I don't understand why this bugs him, so I turn away from his judgmental gaze and resume walking. Maybe he's one of those world peace people who try to make everything get along and whatnot. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. It's easy for you to just say that. You don't know anything about my life. Judgment comes so easily to you humans with your close-minded brains. Tears of sadness and frustration come to my eyes as I recall all the misery Lexi has caused me over the years. Not to mention that she could be ruining Alethea and all of Amara at this very moment, and there's nothing I can do to stop her. My tears threaten to run down my face, but I can't let them show the weakness I've tried so hard to hide since I lost my parents. I take a deep breath. The last time I cried in public was my father's funeral, and I'm not about to now. Besides, I have more important things to be doing, and not just the battle. I have Victoria Cooley's book about gatekeepers to read, too. I can't afford to waste time here on Earth. First, though, I need to get along with Ben if we have any hope of working together to get home, to get me home. I silently promise myself that I will try harder to get along with him. Well, Maybe not get along with him, but not bug him too horribly. At least, not to the point of him leaving me. As hugely as it pains me to admit, I really need his help. He's right. I don't know much about Earth. I need Ben to get me through everything until I figure out how to get home. Or at least to Oregon. His voice finally penetrates my thoughts, but his actual words didn't sink in. What did you just say? I look up at him. Chapter 14. Ben's perspective. I'm thrown off by the tears glistening in her eyes. Rose seems like someone who doesn't cry often, or at all. Besides, I have no clue how to deal with a crying girl. It's intriguing that Rose teared up when she mentioned her enemy. Clearly there's a good story here. Maybe she'll tell it to me and I can get to know more about what makes Rose tick. She seems to be holding it together, so I prod her. Why do you hate this person so much? She's quiet for a moment. What did you say? She looks up at me, blinking rapidly, with a confused look on her face. What makes you hate your enemy so much? I move a little bit to my left and away from her. Hopefully she won't beat up on me for asking that question, and if she tries, I'll be out of arms' reach. It's a long story, she says wearily. I've got time, I say, deliberately walking slower. She slows down with me. Fine. She stole my pet turtle and set him free, she tosses out. Seriously? The spark of mischief has come back into her eyes. How does anyone change moods that fast? And how will I ever get a straight answer from her? Liar, I accuse. I'm not kidding. His name was Larry. I caught him at the pond near my house and convinced my parents to let me keep him. She stole him and set him free. I never forgave her. Right. Clearly turtles cause wars. Between two females. Does she really think I believe that? No one would steal a turtle named Larry. She was jealous that she couldn't catch a turtle, and Larry is a fine name for a turtle, Rose says haughtily. Besides, I never lie. Okay, fine. But how can she not catch a turtle? They're insanely slow. Don't ask me. She clearly wasn't patient enough to wait for a turtle to show up in the first place. And you, of all people, were patient enough? I ask, remembering her lack of it just a while ago. I'm patient for some things, like turtles, for instance. I'm just not patient with stupid people, or really with anyone from Earth. Not my favorite planet, to be honest, she says, shrugging her shoulders and avoiding my eye as I turn us left down a side street. I glance back at the guys behind us. Yup, they turn as well. Tell me the reason you hate her so much, I say, hoping I can wear her down into admitting the truth, and so I could distract her from the people following us. Would you believe me if I said she cut off half my hair while I was sleeping? That's not something to go to war for, I scoff. When you're 5, you go to war over anything you fancy. Don't you have siblings? Nope. Great, no wonder you're so weird. You're a single child, Rose sniffs. Is she insinuating that something's wrong with me? What's wrong with single children? Nothing, she says, trying to hide a smirk. Now I'm annoyed. Really? Why do you hate this girl, whoever she is? How about if I told you she threw my pet rock in the lake? Rose tries again. Why am I yet again surprised at what she says? You had a pet rock? I ask, not bothering to accuse her of lying because clearly that's all she's been doing. Yes, his name was Bob. Your pets don't have very original names, I point out. I know. I name them the first thing that comes to mind. Larry, Bob. I give up on the name issue. Why would she throw your rock in the lake? Can't that girl just get a pet of her own? She was jealous that I had gotten a pony for my birthday and that she hadn't. But she didn't even ask for a pony, Rose groans. I mean, really, that's just pure spite right there. How does a pony equal a rock for revenge? Well, clearly she couldn't release my pony into the woods because then my father would be able to find him. Her condescending tone implies any idiot should have known that. Rose glances over her shoulder again. Right, so your rock got thrown into a lake, I laugh. Well, that's a little unfair for your poor rock. Out of curiosity, what did you name your pony? Bill, I ridicule her. No, I named my pony Fleeta, Rose says offhandedly. Who would name their pony Bill? That's not a very good name for a pony. Like Fleeta is any better? Yup, she shoots back, popping her pea. It is. So I'm sorry, annoyingly. Yup. Yup. She is infuriating. I'm getting peeved that she won't tell me. Why do you really hate her? I told you already. No, you didn't. You gave me a bunch of stories that aren't true, and that you thought I would believe. No, actually, I was under the impression you would not believe them. That's why I told you those stories, she says. Rose gets way too happy at other people's misery. But everything I told you really is true. More lies are spewing from your mouth by the second, I accuse her. Are you even capable of telling the truth? I am capable of telling the truth, and I'm not lying. I would never lie. Well, not outright lie. Just a little white lie, maybe, every once in a while. And maybe I stretch the truth every now and then, Rose says. Arg! I decide to ignore her for the rest of the walk and instead watch the gradual decline of the buildings around us. We've moved from the somewhat kept up and borderline decent part of town to the truly run-down and shabby section. But I know my way around, and we're safe enough. Rose doesn't realize this because she's worriedly looking at the neon lights and pothole-filled street. Are we there yet? She seems to have forgotten about Joey and his buddies behind us. Maybe they will be able to scare her when we reach the car repair shop. At least I'd get a laugh out of that. Serves her right. Chapter 15, Phoenix's Perspective. I scan the top paragraph on the page and realize I've read the same passage multiple times. My mind drifts once again to the recent events here in Alethea. When I arrived at the castle 2 days ago, a footman took the horse, and a servant walked me to the library and filled me in on what she knew. Rose had apparently been taken away via some sort of bright flash of light, and no one knew exactly where she was. Joining Sylvia's research efforts in the library was the best way to help Rose. When Sylvia and I spoke later, we ruled out the possibilities of Rose being dead or that she used the key to disappear. If she had died, someone would have found her body, and if she had used the key, she would be back by now. Wait, what? Popping her pee? Yeah. She says yup and nope. Pop. She goes yup, nope. I don't know if you're getting that plotive because we have a filter for it, but it seems to be something so important to the dialogue that the author mentions it every time it happens that someone will be like, did you really da-da-da? And she goes, nope. And like pops the pee. The possibilities we're left with are that Rose is dead and there's simply no body to recover, or that the strange light transported her somewhere and she's not able to return home or contact us for whatever reason. So now we are still stuck, miserably, at square one. No closer to square two than we were 2 days ago. You know, no one almost ever talks about squares 2 through infinity. We're always talking about being at square one, but what about when you get to square 4? No one's discovered any information on mysterious lights appearing during battle and spiriting away the combatants. We decided that if we had had another key, we could use it to go look for her. It might take a while, but it would be a place to start. So now everyone here in the library has added Gatekeeper Key to their list of things to look for. I found it, a little voice shouts from the back of the cavernous room. Everyone looks up, and I swivel in my chair toward the young girl who spoke. Her innocent brown eyes are full of surprise as she notices everyone staring at her. She quickly hides her face in her hands. I grin. It is so easy to solve problems during childhood. If she can't see us, we can't see her. If only that kind of logic worked in real life. The girl's mother puts a reassuring hand on her shoulder and strokes her plaited hair tied with a white bow at the end. How could such a young girl, maybe 5 years old, have found the answer to such a big problem? Sorry, the mother grimaces apologetically to a room full of expectant faces. She was looking for a lamb in a book. A collective sigh goes up and everyone returns to reading. The embarrassed mother grabs her daughter's hand and leads her out of the room. As they pass, I recognize the pair. It is one of the palace's maids, Maria, and her daughter, Mary. I can't help but overhear Mary ask her mother in that sweet voice children have, "Mommy, why don't we just make a new key?" I watch them retreat. The little girl probably does not understand exactly what is going on, but her question does give me an idea. Maybe we could make another key. At some point in time, someone, somehow, made the first one. If we were to figure out how they did that and then make another one, we could use it to look for Rose. That's it. That's what we should be looking for. Not if there's another key, but how to make another one. Information about the key's origin should certainly be in these books, which means that instead of looking through every single book, we can narrow it down to just the history books or those written a long time ago. Why didn't we think of that before? It makes so much sense. I rush to tell Sylvia. She's at a separate table with the rest of the royal family and their servants, probably her mother's idea. And poor Sylvia, she's wearing formal princess attire, gown, tiara, everything, and looks completely out of place. But again, I'm sure this is her mother's doing. Sylvia looks up at me, relief crossing her face. Because her mother is here, I follow protocol for addressing a royal. "May I speak to you, princess?" I say in my most polite tone, then curtsy to her. It's all so weird for me, but I was raised to know that this is what I have to do. I usually act quite naturally around Sylvia, but today I'm forced to act like everyone else does in the presence of royalty. She gives me a small, regal nod. "Yes, you may now speak." I can tell Sylvia feels uncomfortable for being so formal with me. I lean over and whisper in her ear. "I overheard that little girl asking her mother, 'Why can't we make a new key?' And it gave me an idea. Let's search the history books to find out how the first key was created, and then we can replicate the process. Rose taught you how to use the key when she first got hers, so if we can make one, we can look for her." Sylvia's face lights up and she leaps to her feet, then clears her throat. "May I have your attention, please?" she says, broadcasting her voice so it travels to the back of the room, but doesn't sound like she's shouting. Everyone looks up from what they're reading and gives her their attention. "A friend of mine has suggested that we look into the key's origins to discover how it was made. Then, once we have that found out, we follow up by making a new one. So instead of trying to find a second key that likely does not exist, we simply make a new one." Most people look skeptical at her suggestion, and I can see the slight tension in her face that is probably not noticeable to anyone who does not know her well. She's not liking the way everyone's looking at her, as if she's making an impossible suggestion. She speaks out again, her voice determined. "It is a long shot, I agree, but I am sure that with this many people looking, we can come up with information on the subject." She forces a smile. "I thank you for your assistance." Some people murmur and nod in agreement now. Encouraged, Sylvia continues. "Now is the time to attempt what we have never done before," she says firmly and with conviction. "This is the day we set out to make another key, not only to bring Rose home, but to be ready if this were to happen to someone else. I urge you all to join me. I'm confident the information on the key's origin is in one of these books, and if we just look hard enough, we will be able to find it." The last part of her speech was said with such passion, I think no one in this room doubts Sylvia's abilities to lead anymore. Sylvia's mother is smiling at her daughter, It's the kind of speech giving that she's been teaching her daughter all these years, straight to the point and politely combating arguments before they come up. Sylvia sits down, triumph and relief battling on her face. People talk quietly with each other and exchange notes and ideas with renewed energy, their heads nodding. Excellent job, sweetheart, the Queen says to Sylvia while smiling and putting a hand on her shoulder. Sylvia glows under her mother's compliment. Thank you, Mother. Sylvia shoots me a look of gratitude, and I leave her with a curtsy to return to the bookshelves to gather historical texts. I jump, startled, when someone walks up behind me. It's Colin, and he picks up the books I've taken off the shelves. Gratefulness flows through me. Gratefulness? Gratefulness? Bitch, the word is gratitude. God damn it, I hate so much when this is such a pet peeve of mine. Just tacking ness onto the end of things. Ugh, oh, that gets under my skin so bad. And moving on. He whispers, I know that was your idea, Phoenix. It was very clever. Good job. Smiling to myself, I continue searching the shelves. A book with a red cover titled Great Discoveries and Creations of Our Time catches my attention, and I place it in Colin's arms. After gathering a rather sizable stack, Colin easily carries it back to my table, because he's so strong, and places it in between my chair and another one. So, he's here to help, and he's choosing to sit next to me. I resist the urge to grin like an idiot. We each pick up a book, and I smile at him in thanks. He returns the look, and we get down to work, studying in silence. His friendly and supportive presence reinforces my commitment to this project. I am determined that the next 24 hours will be better than the last 48 have been, and that we will get closer to locating Rose. Most importantly, though, we will bring her home. That's all that really matters right now. Chapter 16 is from Hannaway's perspective. I'm going to take a quick voice break. Gratefulness. Why aren't you showing any gratefulness? Barely literate goddamn generation. All right. That was square one. Time for square two. I know I saw something else I didn't. Can we add Beer Rat to Storytime? Probably. Are they a whole group? No, they're all individual things. So I guess short answer, yes. Long answer, it's going to take some time for me to implement because I'm going to need to put in all of the individual corner pets, and they'll probably need to be up here instead of over there so that they don't get roasted in the fire. And then I'll need to add the logic to streamer bots so that they can actually be changed, etc., etc. Oh, I guess I should probably turn the Dwingles timer off now that Ludendare is over. 64th place or so, by the way. Number 5 in humor. Pretty cool. Chapter 16, Hanaway. I can't believe Rose Sanders is gone. I mean, I was there on the cliffside overlooking the battlefield and I saw it, but wow. I didn't think something like that was possible. When it first happened, I thought Lexi had made them both disappear, but when I arrived at the library 2 days ago, the general consensus was that a portal somehow caused Rose's disappearance. I wanted to going to... Alright, it's an in-book typo, I guess. I wanted to going the gold and silver squads in looking for Rose. I wanted to going the gold... What? What? I wanted to going the gold and silver squads in looking for Rose, but the general wouldn't let me. I wanted to go to? I wanted to... I mean, she means help, but I don't know. I wanted to going the gold and silver squads in looking for Rose, but the general wouldn't let me. I definitely could have helped, but he wouldn't even give me the chance, so I had to settle for helping to find Rose another way. As soon as I could gain access, I checked the Book of Portals in the War Room to see if an annual portal could have taken Rose, because we don't need keys for those. But no portal was scheduled to show up in the valley or anywhere near it on that day. I told Princess Sylvia and Phoenix what I found. They wrote it down in their notes and thanked me. I'm not sure if they've done anything with that information, but at least they have it. But then last night, I decided to check the book again to see if any portals are due to appear soon. Because if one is, and it turns up as it normally does, then we would know the annual portals are working properly. I found out that a portal was scheduled to appear near my house this morning, and it did, just as the book predicted. So I think the annual portals are still working. I didn't go through the portal, of course, because I didn't have a travel permit. It was odd, though. It wasn't pink and purple like it was supposed to be. Instead, it was a mix of every color imaginable. That was hours ago. Since then, I've been in the library. I glanced at the towering pile of scrolls on the table in front of me. When I first arrived here the other day, it dawned on me. No one was keeping track of what books were being read. Everyone was simply reading, and no one was organizing. We needed a system so people wouldn't overlap each other's efforts. Figuring out a system was easy. On the end of each bookshelf is a scroll that lists which books are on the shelf and where exactly on the shelf they are. So, with Princess Sylvia's permission, I gathered the scrolls, recruited help from my aunt, Amy Brandt, and set up a check-in table of sorts. Aunt Amy and I made a master list from all the individual scrolls, so when someone is done with a book, they come to one of us and we cross that book off the master list. That way, we will be able to cover the most information as efficiently as possible. I'm actually rather surprised no one thought of this before I did, and that the palace didn't already have a comprehensive list of the library's contents. but it's a time-consuming task that we're actually not done with yet, so maybe that's why. But now that the princess announced her new plan a few moments ago, everyone will search only the history books and those written a long time ago, so we can cross off a lot of items on the Master Scroll that we don't need to read, which means a lot less work for my aunt and me. I'm excited as I pick up the scrolls we no longer need. Auntie, could you help me take back the scrolls that aren't for the history books? Of course, she says, snatching up a big pile in her tanned arms. Just the history ones stay here, right? And the books written a long time ago? That's what the princess says to do. I think it's a brilliant idea. I follow her to the closest set of bookshelves with my own armload. My aunt returns the scrolls in their holders and tucks a strand of graying hair behind her ear. I do too. Hopefully we'll be able to find Rose. She does bring a certain energy to a room. I reply confidently. I'm sure we'll find her, or she'll find us. Rose Sanders would try her hardest to get home, no matter what it takes. And after all, she was the first girl to join Gold Squad, which certainly takes determination. Yes, it does, and I know you'll soon follow that same trail she blazed. My aunt smiles, the laugh lines in her face deepening. My cheeks warm at the praise. If only I could follow in Rose Sanders' footsteps someday. That would be so cool. But I immediately sober. We have to find her first, though. I'm not doing anything else until we do. After we put away the unnecessary scrolls, there aren't many of them left. It certainly won't take two of us to manage this check-in task. Auntie, I think I could handle the scrolls on my own if you'd rather do something else. Do you need to go home and work on your paintings? It's okay, dear. I need to wait for the paint to thoroughly dry on my current painting anyway. Besides, I was never one for reading much, so I'll sit here and leave it to you to join in the search. Excellent. Now I can do more to help. I start to walk toward a bookshelf to gather my own stack of books, but it occurs to me that my aunt is also a source of information. How much do you know about the portals? I ask her as I sit back down at our table. She looks pleasantly surprised that I would ask her. I know quite a bit, Nalana. Why, everyone was popping in and out of portals back in my day. We didn't need permits to travel, nor were there any of the restrictions we have now, so it was in everyone's best interest to know as much about portals as possible because we used them so often. She pats my hand and looks at me inquiringly. Why do you ask, my dear? Two things. Number one, this is the point when they're like, oh, it was a free-for-all back in the 70s. You could meet a portal in a park that day and just be like, you trying to travel? We don't need no travel permit. I don't even like travel permits. We all did it. Also, she just said, I know quite a bit. Nalana. Was Hanaway's name originally Nalana, and it didn't get changed in this part? This is the sloppiest chapter we've hit so far by a wide margin. Those are two extremely glaring little... we were doing portals all the time. Why do you ask? I want to make sure all my facts are right. If I'm going to help find creative solutions to our problem, I need to know every detail relating to the portals. I can't come up with solutions to a problem I don't fully understand, and it feels like we're overlooking something. Her disappearance has got to be related to a portal. If Gold and Silver Squads couldn't find her after a few days, chances are she isn't even on Amara anymore. I take a deep breath. Can you listen to me while I go over what I know about portals, and you can tell me if I'm right or not? Of course, my aunt settles back in her leather chair. Okay, so portals take us to other worlds, and Rose Sanders uses the key to open them, but there are portals that show up at certain intervals that don't need the key to appear. I pause. My aunt nods her head encouragingly. And when we go through the portals, any portal, we're changed to match the planet's standard for what their people look like, right? Only physically, she reminds me. Mentally, we stay the same. We're still able to sense if our family members are nearby, for example, and to know if one of them is lying to us. Right, I forgot that part. Mental stays, physical changes. Next question.
Each portal has a specific color, right? An indicator that helps someone figure out which planet it will take them to? And the portals will drop you off at the same spot each time on a particular planet?
My aunt furrows her brow. Well, on the rare occasion, portals have been known to move for, as far as we know, no particular reason. What? This is the first I've heard about portals moving.
You mean anywhere on a planet? So you could die falling out of a portal because you landed somewhere dangerous? What if that's what happened to Sanders?
My aunt leans forward reassuringly. They're always close to the ground, Nalana, so we don't need to worry about falling. However, if it's an ocean or a desert you land in, you can get in a bind quickly, but you won't die from the fall. Okay, well, that's good, but something's nagging at me.
Wait, you said each portal has its own distinctive color. I didn't know that.
Yes, no two portals have the exact same color or blend of colors. Oh, this is great news. I jump up excitedly.
That's it. We just need to figure out what color the portal was that took Rose, and we can figure out what planet she went to.
Oh, very clever, my dear. My aunt beams proudly. What color was the portal when you saw the flash of light? My happiness dies, and my shoulders slump.
I looked away from the portal because it was so bright. I have no idea what color it was.
But maybe someone else remembers. There are plenty of warriors in the library.
Let me go ask around and see if anyone saw.
I'll be here, she smiles encouragingly. Let me know what you find. I make a beeline toward the nearest table of warriors. They're Silver Squad, I think.
Did anyone by chance see if the bright light that took Rose away had a color?
I asked them nervously, not sure if I should follow military protocol or not. We are all technically civilians right now, but they are all higher rank than me. They look at each other, shaking their heads. Well, it was worth a shot. Then a younger guy, Seth, who has brown hair and angular features, pipes up. I saw it. It was blue with random swirls of brown in it. Really bright. I thought I was going blind. One of the other boys chimes in. Seth, looking at bright lights is yet another reason why you are a certified idiot. Yeah, save me the taunting, Seth retorts, then turns back to me. Why do you ask?
Seth, you are my savior. Thank you so much. You may be an idiot according to these guys, I gesture at the others at his table, but you may have just helped us figure out where Rose Sanders is.
I dash away to find the princess. Behind me, I can hear Seth's friends break out in excited conversation. Chapter 17, Sylvia. Phoenix's suggestion on how to get Rose back makes me hopeful, at least for the time being, and my successful speech leaves both my mother and I pleased. I know it wasn't the best speech ever given in the history of Amara, but my mother is elated because I actually did it, and in front of a sizable crowd, too. I opened the cover of the first history book in my new pile, and then the second one. Crap. The older volumes don't have a table of contents. Without one, I'm going to have to skim every single page of every single book. I never liked school, especially since I had How to Be a Perfect Princess lessons on top of regular classes. I sigh loudly and close the book cover harder than I should, then intercept a meaningful glance between my mother and Evelyn, the personal servant assigned to me by my mother to make sure I'm behaving properly in public. Evelyn quickly heads in my direction. Double crap. From previous experience, I know this means I'm about to be removed from the room before I embarrass myself or my mother. So much for basking in mother's approval of my speech. Evelyn curtsies respectfully. Perhaps you need to get some rest, princess. You've been up for quite a while now.
I think I need to search for clues to help my best friend, I say curtly, trying to keep my voice down. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice my mother staring sternly at Evelyn with a look that says she's not to back down. The maid turns back to me reluctantly. I must insist that you have at least a short nap, princess. It is only in your best interest that I suggest it, she says softly, so softly, lightly placing her hand on my shoulder. It's all I can do not to shrug off her touch. Instead, I silently weigh the pros and cons of arguing with her. Triple crap! There's no use fighting this battle. The benefits of sleep clearly outweigh the cons, and add to that how angry my mother will be if I don't follow orders, so I capitulate. I see what you mean now, I grind out through clenched teeth. A nap will help me think clearly and come up with better solutions to our issue. Evelyn removes her hand from my tense shoulder. I think she is just glad she doesn't have to keep choosing between my mother's orders and mine. Not that it should be a hard choice, obviously. Listening to the queen is best. But the maid is young, ever so polite, and doesn't like disagreeing with me. Suddenly, Nolana Hanaway rushes up to me and curtsies, a look of unadulterated joy on her face. Her words tumble out. Princess, permission to speak! This must be good news. My mood instantly soars and a smile spreads across my face. Permission granted? Princess, I've been talking to the other warriors, trying to discover what color the light was that took Sanders away. Her words tumble out. I've just learned that portals have colors that correspond with their destination, and I was hoping to use that to help us discover where Rosewood, a Silver Squad member, Seth, saw the light and said it was blue and brown. I do not know what portal that planet belongs to, but whatever planet it is, I believe Rose is there. Brown light. Blue and brown light. My heart just about leaps out of my chest with joy. But my mother suddenly appears next to me, cutting off my plan to figure out which portal it was. Dear, it's time for you to go to rest. She turns to Nolana. Whatever you need to talk about with the princess can wait until later in the day. Nolana curtsies respectfully and reluctantly leaves. Should I tell my mother Hanaway's news? Again, I weigh the pros and cons of returning to my room. No, I'll go. Fake sleep for maybe an hour, and try to get hold of Phoenix so we can figure out which portal it is. This is too important to leave for anyone else. With my nose slightly in the air, I nod briefly to my mother and father as I pass them on my way out. Evelyn follows me down the hall, which is annoying. I was hoping she'd give up once I left the library. Would you like me to get you anything, princess? She asks as she walks briskly behind me. I would like to be left to sleep. I pick the politest way to say what I'm really thinking, that I just want to be left alone, as I walk into my room and firmly shut and lock the door behind me. Ha! That'll show her I don't need to be babied. Without even changing clothes or removing my shoes, I flop on my giant red bed in the middle of the room, sinking into its plushness. It really does feel good to lie down. Trying to collect my racing thoughts and plan my next step, I realize my eyes are closing and there's nothing I can do about it. I dream over and over the death of Rose's father. Then Rose's disappearance enters my dream. Then I bounce back to the wailing and agony of Rose's mother as she's told her husband is missing and presumed dead. Then the shock and fear on the palace maid's face when she told me what happened during the battle a couple days ago. And, most hauntingly, what could be happening to Rose right now. Different scenarios play out of Rose on various planets fighting for her life, or worse, Rose lying on the ground, her eyes staring blankly into an unfamiliar sky. Dreaming these scenes over and over is torture, but I can't wake myself up. Something is keeping me glued to these events. It's like my subconscious has a morbid fascination with watching more distant past and intertwining it with the possibilities I've tried to ignore about Rose's disappearance. Thankfully, voices in the hallway outside my bedroom door halt the rerun of tragic events cycling through my head. Despite the quiet tones the two speakers use, I'm wide awake, so I sit up. Evelyn tells someone, I ask that you please leave the princess alone. Oh my goodness, she hasn't left her post at my door? Does she have anything better to do than babysit me? Phoenix's voice floats through the door. It is very important that she's informed of this new development immediately. I must insist that you leave. Evelyn's voice leaves no room for arguing, yet still maintains that polite tone necessary in her position. There's a moment of quiet while I'm sure Phoenix decides what to do. I'll leave then. Sorry to disturb you. Her footsteps fade down the hallway. I punch the pillow. Phoenix gave in way too easily. I get out of bed, trying to shake the after effects of the dream. A terrible feeling settles in my stomach, telling me I'm missing a very important point. What that point is, I have no idea. Yeah, that's missing things for you. I fix my hair in the mirror so it isn't all tangled and gently set my tiara back on my head. I can practically hear my mother's stern lecture. Princesses are supposed to look and dress properly at all times. They are supposed to be setting an example and not look like sloppy teenagers. Never mind, that's exactly what I am. Whoa. Where are my sloppy teenagers at? Ugh. Gross. Oh, I wish I hadn't said. Don't. But it's another one of her innumerable rules. I can say all of them backwards and forwards if I want to. Clink, clink, clink. Something softly hits one of my windows. I throw the window open, and a small pebble promptly hits me in the face. Ow! I squeak before I realize I should be quieter. Sorry. Phoenix's loud whisper reaches me from below. Okay, now I've identified my rock thrower. I should have known she'd not give up so easily. It's okay. What's going on? I inquire, raising my voice enough so she can hear me, but not enough that Evelyn can. We need to talk, Phoenix calls quietly as she emerges from her hiding place. I just thought of something really important. I quickly think of a plan. Climb the tree up to the balcony below mine, and then I'll reach down and pull you up. Without another word, she does as I suggest. Once she's carefully balancing on the railing of the balcony below me, she reaches up. I lean down, and our fingertips barely touch even though she's standing on her tiptoes. She looks like she might fall at any second. Crap, this is not my best idea. Whenever I sneak back into the palace, I use the balcony below and then finish my journey by going through the inside of the castle. I think we underestimated the height between the two balconies, Phoenix gasps as she tries to stretch farther, even though she's swaying. I wrap my legs around two of the railing's support posts and slide a little more over the edge. I can just grasp her hands in mine. 1, I say slowly. 2, she replies. It's an old tradition of ours to count this way. 3, we say at the same time, and I heave up on her hands, and Phoenix tries her best to jump up from the railing. Straining, I pull her up enough so she can grab onto the railing, then swing her legs up. Phoenix nimbly hops over the balcony railing to safety. Well, that was a workout. She pants as she stands and stretches her arms. Why couldn't you just come down? I stare at her. How very like Phoenix to simply trust that I would come down if I could, and that therefore she had to come up. I gave her a quick hug and ignore my aching arms. I'm supposed to be asleep, I reply after taking a deep breath and letting it out. Oh, and remember to be quiet. Evelyn is still out there. I heard you talk to her earlier. What'd you find? And I have something to tell you, too, that Hannaway figured out. Come on, let's sit down. It's a long story if I want to fully explain my thoughts. She leads the way into my bedroom and pats a spot on the bed beside her. My stomach is knotted in anticipation as I sit and fold my legs under me. I hope what she has to say will give me one of the missing pieces to the puzzle, and maybe help me to interpret my unsettling dreams. Here's what I think, she begins. That seems insanely dangerous. I would not be, as a full-grown man, willing to be either person in that encounter. Like, if someone's like, all right, I need you to go to the apartment below my apartment, stand on the balcony, and I'll go out on my balcony and pull you up to this balcony. That sounds crazy. Like, if there was like a fire and it was like you have to jump from this balcony down to the next one, I wouldn't like that, but I would do it. But just to like have a conversation or like, I don't know, that operation, have someone pull you up to the next balcony just loose with hands, feels like it has so many ways to go wrong that would get someone like very, very hurt. And it's just not easy to like, it gives me like weird chills. Okay, I'm gonna do proper break, and then we will keep going. We're back in Rose's perspective. That probably needs to be on. Okay. Chapter 18. Rose's Perspective. This is where we're staying tonight? I exclaim, looking at the dinky, dilapidated building in front of me. Oops. I spin around and look at the guys following us. They're still several yards away. One of them is the owner. Joey, I think Ben said, of this decrepit building. They all look rough around the edges, like personal hygiene is very low on their priority list. I turn back toward the building and study its filthy walls and the windows with bars on them. People trust that dude not to steal their cars? I ask Ben in an undertone. I heard that, a gruff voice says from right behind me. I jump slightly, and Derek snickers, so I elbow him in the side as we turn around. The guy who spoke is tall, bulky, and has greasy brown hair, a sort of stupid look on his face. But he's evidently faster on his feet than I gave him credit for. He says out the corner of his mouth, "How much longer are you going to stand there, Derek, huh? I hope you have what you owe me. I could be out with my buddies at a party tonight if it weren't for you." His friends grunt goodbye to him and continue down the street. I don't have what I owe you, Joey, but I'll pay you back. Ben puts his hands up and warns him. If you push me, though, I will not hesitate to call my father. I have information about where you acquired the parts for your cars that he'll find interesting. Oh, right. Cue the imposing father figure who I know nothing about, I snort to myself. Apparently, I'm the only person in the city missing that tidbit of information. Joey snarls. If you don't pay me back soon, I guarantee something bad'll happen, and your daddy won't be able to help you. Ben's eyes widen, and he nods. I feel him withdraw, almost as if he took a step back. Why does that threat scare him? I'm surprised he would show any fear in front of this uncouth jerk. The man brushes past us and pauses at the door of the building. Well, Come on in then, he says grudgingly, his threatening tone gone now that he has apparently gotten his point across, and Ben is suitably cowed. I shoot a withering glance at Ben. I'm not impressed. The man unlocks the door and Ben follows him inside. I slowly enter the building, unsure what to expect. Harsh overhead lights blink on. My nose is hit with the horrible smell of human sweat and dirty machines. This place could use some air freshener, I mumble. I look around. No one else is here. 3 old cars are parked with the fronts open. 3 old cars are parked with the fronts open? What does that mean when a car has its front open? Is that the hood or the doors? It's like, oh, I know what cars are. Numerous tools lie around on the floor, and others are strewn across the messy workbenches ringing the room. But in the place where a 4th car could go, I spot the most wonderful human invention ever, in my opinion. I wander over to it. So, you play much poker? I ask conversationally. 2 decks of cards and a whole lot of scattered poker chips nearly cover the top of the poker table. Yeah, some say I'm the best player in the city, the man boasts. He joins me at the round, felt-covered table. Pride cometh before the fall, I smirk. Well then, we'll have to play. I haven't played poker in a while, I say as I lightly pat the table. Ben gives me a, what do you think you're doing look, but I ignore him, sit down, pick up a deck of cards, and glance inquiringly at my opponent. Fine with me. I don't mind taking more of Ben's money, the man says, sitting across the table and rolling up the sleeves on his grimy shirt. So you're Joey, right? Yep. He looks me up and down, then glances questioningly at Ben. You in? He indicates the cards. I don't gamble, Ben says, his arms folded across his chest and his eyes blazing at me. That's okay. I'll gamble enough for the 2 of us. Besides, we need a dealer. I toss the cards towards him. And Joey, even though you didn't ask, my name is Rose. You're going to want to remember that for when people ask who beat you. I say it playfully, but I do mean it. The guy grunts, then lights up a cigarette. Filthy things. I make my first move before the game even begins. Of course, Joey. We should back our chips with real money, don't you think? It'll make it a little more interesting. Joey pulls out his wallet. Yup, let's do it. I smirk as I separate and stack the scattered chips in front of creepy Joey and me. Ben, do you want to give me cash so I can play? I ask him, holding out my hand. I'm shocked, Joey guffaws, and I see how yellow his teeth are. Disgusting. Your little girlfriend's a gold digger. I thought you had better taste than that, he adds amid gales of laughter. Ben leans over to whisper in my ear. What are you doing? Do you even know how to play poker? And may I remind you that I don't have a lot of money, he says with barely suppressed irritation. Trust me, I whisper back. He sighs, straightens up, and pulls out his wallet. He hands me what I assume is his remaining cash, since his wallet is now empty. I put the money next to my chips and smirk as Ben takes a seat and deals the cards. After an hour of my well-placed verbal jabs and witty banter distract my opponent, it's clear to all 3 of us that the city has a new best player. That's it? That's the whole poker scene? 1 sentence? After an hour of my well-placed verbal jabs and witty banter, it's clear to all 3 of us the city has a new best player. Oh my god, that's so fucked up. I'm not surprised at all I won, but I was a little worried that my poker skills would be rusty. It's been a long time since I learned how to play the game as a way to learn about Earth money. It turned out to be easy. Pretty much all I have to do to beat most people is be an exceptionally good liar, which just so happens to be my specialty. Not to mention I learn valuable information on their ability, or inability, to lie. Old pot-bellied Joey is sweating and angry right now, and I don't feel like pushing it. I lazily stretch my hands above my head and throw in my cards. I think I'm done for the night, I say nonchalantly. Joey grunts. I take that as agreement. I count up my chips and play with them while grinning. Okay, so maybe I am pushing it just a little. Derek collects all the cards and puts them in a pile, then rises and tugs his backpack over one shoulder. I put up all the money next to my chips and stand, stuffing the cash in my pocket. I walk around the table. I present to you the highest of fives, I say in a mock regal tone and stick up my hand, high-fiving Ben. He shoots me a worried look. He shoots a worried look in Joey's direction, probably due to my blatant bragging, but nonetheless, he high-fives me back. Well, I'd love to stick around, I say to the glowering Joey, but seeing as how we now have enough money to get a hotel room for the night, we'll be taking our leave. He leaps to his feet, his teeth clenched and his posture rigid. I believe Ben still owes me money. I glance between the two men and judge the distance to the door. Nope, not possible to make a run for it. Not with the need for Ben to be aware of the plan before I put it into action. For the moment, I don't question him as to why I need to hand over some of my well-earned money to this loser on his behalf. That question will be directed at him later. That, and all the ones that are piling up in my mind about his father. I pull the cash out of my pocket and hand it to Ben. Ben throws some of it on the table, keeping his eye on Joey the entire time. There you go. Now we don't have to call my father, and I no longer have to associate with you, he snarls. Goodbye. I walk toward the door, not even trying to squelch my laughter. Joey jumps to his feet, shaking, and splutters as he tries to say something. I call happily over my shoulder. We'll have to play again another time. I can feel his eyes glaring at my back. Ben opens the door for me and I walk out when I remember something from an earlier conversation. Popping my head back inside, I yell, and by the way, I'm not his girlfriend, and I'm not a gold digger. I take off down the street, giggling. Sometimes I even surprise myself. Ben lopes along beside me and chuckles at my behavior. Was it necessary to make that point? Still giggling, I slow down to an excited skip. Yes, it was. People should know not to make assumptions about other people. It comes back to bite them. Besides, that was really too much fun, I say merrily. The night isn't as cold as I thought it was going to be. It's actually rather warm. Well, I guess you're right. And that game was entertaining. I've never seen Joey at a loss for words, or really, at a loss for anything. I snicker. Ruining stupid people's winning streaks is enjoyable. So, what's the plan for spending this wonderful money that I have so amazingly acquired? I ask, following Ben as he steps off the curb to cross the street. Well, miss, I'm the one making the plans. I'm thinking that we should get you a change of clothes. I have clean clothes for myself in my backpack. He hitches the strap higher on his shoulder. After that, we hit a pay by the hour motel. Because they're cheaper and fewer questions are asked. I don't think they're cheaper. I'm pretty sure they're more expensive. Okay, whatever. Because they're cheaper, we sleep for a few hours and then figure out where to go from there, he says, not breaking his stride. His legs are so much longer that I have to take an extra step every so often in order to keep up. Well, I wouldn't know what to do with the money, but I am still the plan maker, I say, defending my title. And I approve. Lead the way, mister. And I'm going to raise my hand. This entire next bit is hyphenated. All one hyphenated word. Lead the way, Mr. I totally know where I'm going and won't get us lost in the first 30 seconds of our adventure. Every word is hyphenated. You know, he's Mr. I totally know where I'm going and won't get us lost in the first 30 seconds of our adventure. Across the street, a raucous group of men stumble out of a building marked Bar in bright, colorful lights. They're shouting to each other, and I quicken my pace, glad we're on the other side of the street. Ben ignores them. That was one time, Rose, one time. Besides, I told you, I was distracted earlier. I just met some random crazy alien girl from another planet, not to mention that the insane girl had a knife the size of my forearm in her boot. I don't think that's crazy, and just because my knife is bigger than yours doesn't mean you have to panic and get lost, I retort. Well, you're weird enough that everything must seem normal to you. Now, that insult was good, and I applaud you for your skill. I mock clap at his jibe. But I think if you were less of a scaredy cat, your clueless self wouldn't have been as shocked and distracted by my awesome knife. Then we never would have taken that wrong turn. I blame you for all the extra effort I had to put into this day. I sidestep a crumpled newspaper and a few other pieces of disgusting trash. Lazy, he coughs. Touché. I would deny that, but it's not becoming of someone to lie, I explain. So I won't deny it, and I will agree that, yes, Ben, I am lazy. He laughs. Well, hurry your lazy butt up. We shouldn't be out at this time of night, he says, and walks faster, going towards several stores with more of the colorful, bright lights. Is the clothing store going to be open this late? I ask. Don't the workers have to go home? I know of several stores around here that stay open late, he tells me, crossing the street towards the brightly lit shopping area. Actually, they're open 24/7 for weird people like us who decide to go shopping in the middle of the night. That's good, because I don't want to be stuck in these clothes for however long, and hopefully it isn't long. I'm stuck here. I need to get home, or at least to Oregon. He nods and holds open the door of the store for me. Clean clothes now, and in the morning, a plan. All right, that's voice break, and we are in Ben's perspective for what will likely be the last section. Oh yeah, this is a good sized chapter. We will do chapter 19 in just a couple minutes. Sorry, what was that? I want to find that hyphened bit again. Mr. That might be the craziest hyphenated passage I've ever seen in a book. And then we'll go to the pay by the hour motel. Could you imagine like a 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy trying to hit up a pay by the hour hotel? That's so fucked up. I need to find a place to write. Mr. I totally know where I'm going and won't get us lost in the first 30 seconds of our adventure. I think sets the record for the most hyphens in one chunk. We've been reading another book that does the same thing where it has like blocks of text and it's trying to express that, and it does it in quotes instead of with hyphens. The more common one I've seen is hyphens. We've seen it a few different times in this book, but I'm pretty sure that it's more than a full line. It's like 1.5 full lines of text to say, Mr. I totally know where I'm going and won't get us lost in the first 30 seconds of our adventure. Seems like something that would be in an old kids movie where you don't realize how dark it is. Yeah, I guess so. I could believe that. It's like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that. It was a different time, you know? 15-year-olds were just renting motels. All right, cheers, stream. Be back. Okay, now that I have had a moment to reflect on it, can we take a step back real quick and think about what actually literally just happened? Because it is crazy. Set the stage. A pair of teenagers is walking through Chicago toward a auto shop owned by a guy. The guy who owns that auto shop and a couple of his friends who know one of the teenagers see them headed in that direction and then stalk them for like 10 minutes all the way to the auto shop. It's like if it was like, yeah, I'll meet you at this place, and then I just walk behind you like a quarter of a block for 10 full fucking minutes. Like, if, and I'm also pretty sure Joey is like a full grown adult, and so he's like fucking with this 15-year-old boy, being like, yeah, I know him. We've played poker together. but like I'm gonna like stalk him to my house, to my place. And then when you get there, you're like, all right, boys, I'll see you later. And the other guy's just like fucked off. You go inside. The teen girl beats you at poker. It's just like, what a bizarre. What is the what? I don't remember specifically, but it's got to be a setup for something, right? Like this must be a Chekhov's gun that Joey is going to be some piece of shit that falls into place later in the book. Otherwise, what was the point of that entire section? Is it just to demonstrate how cool Rose is and how good she is at poker? She's like randomly good at poker. It seems like a means to an end to go to the auto shop and not actually have to like swallow what it is, but instead like be a cool Mary Sue and win a bunch of money off the guy to go to a motel instead. Just very, on the outside, very, very strange. And not like, it just doesn't track with how humans exist. I don't know. Okay, chapter 19, Ben's perspective. Rose skips into the store as happy as a child who just won a game of rock, paper, scissors. Just inside the door, she stops and turns around, her blue eyes shining with delight. What can I buy here anyway? It's weird seeing her happy for this long. I shrug. Just pick out some clothes. I'm not sure how much she needs. I proved my point back there with that creep Joey, didn't I? Rose says, beaming. That's why Rose is so happy. Not because we're shopping for clothes, and not because she won all that money. I have a feeling she didn't really care about that, but because she'd proven to me that she could, in fact, play poker very well. I wonder how long Rose has spent trying to prove her point to people. From what I've seen, most petite, hyperactive blondes aren't taken too seriously. Oh. Yeah, you proved your point, I say. She turns away, but not before I see her triumphant grin. Rose's attention suddenly shifts as she makes a beeline for a display of shoes. Hey, this is the store I got my shoes from. I don't even ask why she stole a pair of shoes. Out of all the things I've learned today, this isn't even slightly shocking. However you got them, yours look fine. Focus on clothes and not spending all my money, I tell her. We need it for other things. Whatever, she says flippantly. What season is it here? Summer, I reply. I wonder if her seasons are different on Amara. Oh shit, reveal, Ben knows about Amara. I don't think she said anything about it yet. And he just said it internally and narratively. Rose grabs a pair of jeans from the rack without even looking at the size. She does the same thing with a t-shirt, then stalks off to the closest dressing room. She doesn't need to worry about size. She's just a little girl. She's just a girl. Tiny little girl, size 0. If anything, they'll be too big. A couple minutes later, she comes out wearing a short-sleeved dark green shirt that fits better than the dark-washed jeans do. They're clearly too long. She's tucked the ends sloppily into her boots. I can see the glint of her hunting knife peeking out of the top. Of course, she wouldn't get rid of it or put it in her pocket. Boots are clearly the most logical place for knives, according to Rose. Her hair is no longer in a ponytail. Her hair is no longer in a ponytail, but is braided straight down her back. Wait, are those price tags in her hand? Why'd she pull them off? You have to pay for those clothes, you know. I know. Just watch, she replies and approaches the counter. I'd like to buy these clothes and wear them out, she tells the cashier and hands her the tags. The cashier, who doesn't look like this is anything interesting or weird, scans the tags and tells Rose the price. Maybe it's some weird girl thing? Surprisingly, Rose manages to hand over the right amount of money. I guess bills are easy to understand because the numbers are printed on them. Rose shoves the change and receipt in the pocket of her new jeans. See, I told you I knew what I was doing, she says flippantly as we walk out the door, never minding the fact that she didn't tell me that. But she's not quite as on top of things as she thinks she is. By the way, you left your old clothes in the changing room, I say, curious what her reaction will be. I know I did, Rose says a little too fast. Liar, I cough. Oh, liar, I cough as we head to our next destination. I have a feeling that was not in Rose's plan, but I don't let on that I'm wise to her. So, how far away is this motel anyway? Just around the corner and across the street, I tell her, adjusting the strap on my backpack, which reminds me that I never did accomplish my errand this morning, now that I think about it, thanks to meeting Miss Rose. We walk in silence until we reach the motel I have in mind. It's a clear summer night, and I feel warm and kind of sticky because of the humidity. I open the cracked glass door for her and let her walk in ahead of me. She instantly recoils, backing up into me, and makes a gagging noise. Just what I thought the earth couldn't smell any worse. We are not staying here. We are taking that money and going to the nearest, nicest hotel. Rose, the nicer the hotel, the more expensive it is. Well, I'm using my money, and I'm staying somewhere nicer than this dump. Let's go. Rose turns on her heel and walks out. I reluctantly follow her. After all, she did win us more than enough money. Splurging for one night won't hurt our funds too much. It'll be better than this dump, in any case. Outside, I turn left. I know just the hotel. Come on, Rose. I'll take us to a nice hotel. Yay! You're the best! Rose cheers, an adorable grin on her face. Line of asterisks. Minutes later, Rose and I are walking up the steps to the Hotel Viatro. This is more like it, she says, taking in the luxurious entryway, crystal chandeliers, leather couches, and wide marble staircase. I walk over to the counter. A room for one night, please. I pull out my wallet. The blonde receptionist looks me up and down. How old are you? You have to be 18 to get a room. Oh, this is internal monologue. Nice hotels ask far too many questions. Old enough. I slide a rather large bill across the counter to her, hoping it will work. Of course, sir. She takes the bill and starts typing on her computer. Cash or credit? Cash, I reply, then cringe as she tells me the amount. Nonetheless, I hand it to her, glancing over my shoulder at Rose. Rose, who's still in the middle of the lobby, spinning in a slow circle and taking in the luxury of the place. She's like manic pixie dream girling in the lobby while you're trying to check in. That's so fucking cringe. Here's 2 key cards for you. Room 10E, the receptionist tells me with a smile. I hope you enjoy your stay. Thank you. I grab the cards, walk over to the elevator, and push the button. Immediately, the doors spring open and Rose and I step inside. What does... The elevator moves, and Rose grabs onto my arm for support. What in the world is this thing? She screams. It's an elevator. It takes us up faster than climbing the stairs. I resist the urge to laugh. Rose peels herself off me and stands on her own. Within seconds, the elevator stops, jostling her into clutching the handrail for dear life. I can't help but laugh at the look of terror on her face. This is so not funny. This thing is a death trap. As soon as the doors open on the 10th floor, Rose leaps out and heads down the hallway toward room E. I slide the card through the door scanner, and in we go. The hotel room is huge, and everything is very plush. Rose immediately flops down on the couch. Now this is more like it. By the way, I get the bed, and you're sleeping on the couch. because she's not like that. I laugh. Of course, she would waste no time calling the bed, but I don't mind. The couch is probably more comfortable than most of the places I've slept. She abruptly changes the subject. So, using the picture on your phone, is there any way to ID the man? Rose asks. Because I was thinking, you said some people follow you for the key, so if that's the case with this guy, then maybe he knows something about the portals not working. He might have information we can use. I'm impressed. Actually, yes, there are several ways we can use that picture. Let me think about it, and tomorrow, after breakfast, I'll let you know and we'll work from there. But I gotta get a few hours of sleep first. Rose's eyebrows scrunch together. I'm guessing she doesn't like waiting. Okay, we'll do that and see if your idea works. If not, we're heading to Oregon. An idea sparks up in my head. Can't you call the people in Oregon and ask them for help? What? Like, on the phone thing? She asks, looking confused. I assume you don't know the number then. I bet you don't even know their last name. Well, there goes that plan. No, I don't. So let's stick with the plan we have now, she suggests as she gets up off the couch and heads to the bedroom. She throws open the double doors and I glimpse a huge bed. Talk to you in the morning, she says and shuts the doors behind her with a click. That works for me. Now we have a plan and a nice place to sleep and shower. Everything is going decently well now, although it would be better if the keys would magically come back to life. I move to the couch, yet I don't fall asleep. Thoughts race through my mind as I lace my fingers behind my head and try to relax. Originally, all I wanted to do was to retrieve a few things from my home while my parents were at work. Instead, I ended up befriending someone from another planet. It's been a weird day. I take the keys out of my pocket and turn them over. One damaged almost beyond recognition, and the other still shiny and unused. I set the damaged one on the table and take mine in my hand. Remembering Rose's instructions for using the key, I close my eyes and think of her planet, Amara. She had said there was a tree in front of the portal, a large river with fish and woods. I open my eyes. Nothing. Maybe I didn't imagine Amara well enough? But Rose said that even if I got the details wrong, it's supposed to open and then take me to some limbo place. I sigh and put my key on the table next to Rose's. I wonder if either of the keys will ever work again. Line of asterisks. The next morning, Rose and I sit across from each other. We're stuffed from raiding the minibar fridge for breakfast, and now we're both reluctant to check out of the hotel. So, are you ever going to tell me where you got your key? I ask her. Rose leans back against a chair and squints at me, a line forming between her eyes. I got it from the gatekeeper before me. She didn't want it anymore, so I volunteered for the job, and the Queen granted me permission to take over. She stares at me as if she's watching for my reaction. I have the strangest feeling she's lying to me. Something in her eyes changed as she talked. That's it? That's your story? Yup. Did that not happen to you? She looks shocked. Too shocked? Fake shocked? I have a hard time telling with her. No. I decide not to question her on the lying. If she doesn't want to tell me, then I'm not going to push. I've got bigger hurdles to jump today. Then how did you get your key? She asks, resting her elbows on her knees and her chin in her hands. I hesitate. It's a long story. If she doesn't want to tell me the truth, why should I tell her about me? Especially since this story is the one that changed my life and drove the final wedge between my family and me. Basically, my mom thought everything I told her about the key was nonsense, and my dad refused to speak to me as long as I kept the key, so I left, after yelling some regrettable things at my parents. But I'm not ready to spill my guts to Rose about all of this. That's fine if it's a long story. I've got time, she says, and eases back into her chair, relaxing and kicking her feet up on the glass table. She's wearing her boots, and I can see her knife sticking out of the top of one. I can't let her stay in possession of that weapon. The last thing I need is to try to explain to the cops that Rose can't be arrested for pulling her knife on someone because she technically isn't human. Give me your knife first, I tell her, holding out my hand. Why? She asks, taking her boots off the table so her knife is farther away from me, like I would try to take it from her by force. She'd probably kill me. Because I feel like you pull your knife on people a lot, and we don't need to get into that kind of trouble, I tell her, wiggling my fingers to indicate that she should put the knife in my hand. She waits a few beats. Fine, but I want it back after we figure out our plan, she says, crossing her arms. And you have to tell me everything about how you got your key. No secrets, she grins knowingly. So, that's her game. She wants the full story. But I want the knife. Deal. Looking pained, she very slowly places the knife in my hand and watches me safely stow it in my backpack. She kicks her feet back up on the table and gets comfortable, then looks at me expectantly. I take a deep breath. Here goes nothing. About 2 years ago, I was downtown and gotten lost as I tried to walk home from a new burger joint where I'd met a couple of friends. She snickers, and I shrug. Hey, it's a big city, and the burger place was way across town. I didn't know my way around as well as I do now. Anyway, the street lights were coming on, and there weren't a lot of people out and about, and, well, back then, I didn't have the street smarts I do now. So when this big, tough-looking dude was coming down the sidewalk toward me, I stupidly stayed on the sidewalk too. There was plenty of room for both of us. When he passed me, his hand shot out and grabbed my arm. I couldn't think what to do. I thought I was going to die. He stared at me and just gripped my arm. His face had scars all over it, which made him look a mess, and I swear half his teeth were missing. I was petrified. I'm surprised I didn't piss myself. That confession earns me a quiet laugh from Rose. Anyway, he said in this scratchy, sinister voice, "You are the new gatekeeper. Good luck." Then he shoved a key into my hand and walked away, laughing hard, as if he'd just done something hilarious. It took me a minute to unfreeze, but by then, the man was gone. I wrote him off as a crazy, so I shoved the key in my pocket and eventually found my way home. Rose is hanging on my every word. Her eyes are alert, and she's leaning forward. For some reason, I had this insane need to carry the key around with me all the time. I told myself it was because if I saw the owner, I could return it. It wasn't until a month later that I finally figured out what the key was for. "And?" Rose asks excitedly. Her eyes sparkle. This girl really loves a good story. Anyway, about a month later, I decided to grab a bite to eat at a diner. The one we ate at yesterday. I was halfway into my sandwich when this random girl sat down in my booth. She had pitch black hair and these insanely bright green eyes. I'd never seen her before, or since. Except maybe the girl on the bus was... Holy hell! That's why I recognized her voice. We're really falling in and out of quotation marks here. This entire last page has been formatted very crazy, and I'm doing my best, but that might have that's why but Rose doesn't need to know any of that. Not yet, anyway. I thought she'd mistaken me for someone else, so I asked her who she was looking for. She said, I've already found him. I looked around for someone else, but she was staring at me. I waited for her to say something, but she didn't. And that's when I realized she wanted to talk to me. But then the waitress came up and took her order, so I had to wait. Rose is intrigued, I can tell. She's staring at me even more intently than the girl in the diner did. I take a deep breath, collecting myself for the last part of the story. Anyway, she explained to me that there are other worlds besides Earth, and the key will take me there. She told me more stuff, too, like how to do it, but I wasn't paying much attention to her because I thought it was some kind of joke. Rose smirks, probably thinking that I'm an idiot. I pretend not to notice and move on. She kept saying... She taught me other stuff too, like how to do it. She kept saying, "Someday you'll come across a flower and your life will change." I thought she was insane, but now I wonder if she was talking about you, Rose. That's what the whole roses have thorns thing meant. But how did that girl How did that girl know I would meet Rose? I rush on with my story before Rose can ask why I paused. So, she also explained that people would be coming for the key, and I, under no circumstances, was to let them use, have, or know I was in possession of the key. She was dead serious when she said that. It freaked me out that she knew I had the key, but I just thought it was a coincidence and that she had escaped from the loony bin or something. Taking a deep breath, I tell her the rest of it. People have come after the key. I even lost it once, but I got it back, and that's the important part. So to avoid anyone getting the key, I learned how to fight and how to lie. I also learned how to survive on my own. I'm not about to go into details about the zero help from my parents after they kicked me out for insisting the key could take people to other worlds. Rose is thinking hard, her fingers tapping her leg, and her eyes squinting and staring off over my shoulder. She probably has 50 questions already. I prepare myself for the onslaught. She sits up excitedly. Well, if you went into that diner, that means you live around here. What? Out of my entire story, that's what she got? We could have stayed with your parents. Oh, no, definitely not. We are not, under any circumstances, going to my parents' house, I say coldly. Rose looks taken aback at my tone. It clearly wasn't what she'd been expecting. She shuts up on the subject, so I guess I got my message across. The truth is that I don't talk to anyone about my parents. It brings up too many questions that I don't really want to answer. End of chapter. Well, that was a couple of sloppy chapters for sloppy teenagers. There was an absolutely epic typo in I didn't want to going silver and bronze squads, so I did this and that. I don't know. This whole chunk has been like particularly nuts. So what really happened? Yeah, what did happen? Almost nothing. They were searching in the books for answers to how to get the key back, decided they couldn't get the key back, so they pivoted to learning how to make a new key, which they didn't figure out how to do, although Phoenix and her aunt, or no, Hanaway? Yeah, Nolana Hanaway and her aunt set up a master list. There was a long whole chapter about how they set up a master list to help organize all the people reading books. I don't really know why we needed to know any of that, but it did give us that bit that I really love in this, where it's like, what do you know about portals? And Hanaway's aunt's like, oh, baby, back in the day, we'd be going in portals all the time. You don't need a travel permit. You don't need nothing. You just go in a portal, out of portal, whatever. Free portal. It was the era of free portal. And for Rose's part, they went to stay the night somewhere, didn't stay the night somewhere, went and stayed the night somewhere else instead. And then Ben talked about how he randomly got the key from a possibly insane homeless person, and that's why he's the gatekeeper. But his parents don't like that, so they kicked him out. I wouldn't say a ton happened. For 2 hours and like 6 chapters of shit, I don't think all that much actually occurred, and most of it could have been left out. But hey, you know, that's bad writing for you. All right, I'm gonna take off. That's all. 2 hours is all my voice can really do on a loud reading. We all know that. Tomorrow is Monday, so Minecraft Monday. Go try and pick up where we left off on Minecraft and see if that laser machine has constructed the necessary computer chips yet for whatever the hell I was building. I don't know. I'll have to run up on it again. And also very possibly earlier in the day, art stuff and or Oblivion. So come on back for that.
That's the end of the show. All of us have got to go back on home. I hope you had a lot of fun. We'll catch you at the next one, or whenever we do.